I will die mad about how the show came to an end, and even using the word ended is a big stretch. Initially being a pilot for Cartoon Network in 2015, 12 Forever would see its full series release in the summer of 2019 under the ban of Netflix original animation. The show would be a host to a large variety of colorful characters, but we would focus on our protagonist, Reggie Abbott. She's an 11-year-old girl who turns 12 in the first episode. While most kids would be excited to grow up, or at least happy for their birthday, Reggie would rather not be reminded she's growing up. She has a childlike imagination and is incredibly creative. So the thought of growing up and losing that aspect of her which she holds so dear is heartbreaking. This leads into her escaping into a place with no adults, a place where she can do whatever she wants, a place where she'll never have to grow up. She escapes into the endless islands. While her eccentricities in the real world get her cast as a social pariah of her school, on the endless islands she's regarded as a hero amongst locals, as her imagination brings new life into the island with crazy new people, items, etc. While she initially goes to the island to occasionally take a break from the real world, to go on exciting adventures with her friends, she oddly learns a bit about herself on the island and is able to grow, if only slightly, from them. She is initially extremely adverse to bringing outsiders onto the island. Her first reaction to conflict is either to run away or beat it into its submission. She refuses to give up her childhood items, but Reggie's reactions end up growing a divide between her friends when her friend Todd wants to bring a girl he likes to the island. She ends up bringing her possessions she can't part with onto the island, which creates bigger problems later on. And she even ends up creating the main antagonist of the series, the Butt Witch, a him-styled villain who embodies womanhood in a sense, everything Reggie wants to avoid. But since turning 12 on the island and seeing the messes that comes from her actions, she manages to correct herself. She learns to communicate with her friend Todd about her anxieties about his crush, and tries to connect with the girlfriend. She defeats the Butt Witch not by destroying her, but eliminating her status as a threat. She's still the same imaginative girl, but she's changing in some ways. Positive ways. Unfortunately, the series wouldn't be renewed by Netflix for a second season. 'Cause really, what everyone needs is more Boss Baby, according to Netflix. But in truth, while it would be easy to blame Netflix's poor leadership and decision making behind the show's lack of a renewal, or even the show's controversial creator, the show was not picked up for a second season due to its crew moving on to other projects, and not enough of them remained to be able to continue Reggie's, Todd's, and Esther's story. This is really kind of sad in a way. While I'm happy that the crew that made such an entertaining and unique show about growing up was able to continue to find work and are able to tell more stories, it's lamentable that this story would lack any kind of finite conclusion on the extremely loose threads that the show left behind, like the show's queer content. First off, Alexander is seemingly male and makes reference to his ex-boyfriend, the Red Constellations.
Don't worry, I'm not in touch with him anymore.
This is extremely minor, but since it counts, I thought I'd mention it. Plus, I love his design and his personality of being a loner. Why does no one want to hang out with a literal galaxy embodiment as a man? Anyway, and the point of this whole video is Reggie and her attraction to the older 8th grader Connelly. Reggie comes across Connelly while she and her friends are filming out an action scene. This activity is what draws Reggie to eavesdrop, but when her eyes meet Connelly, she freaks out and acts super awkward. Connelly mentions she needs an extra in the scene and asks Reggie to join, to which Reggie, not understanding her emotions, says the bad one-liner and runs off to hide. The onset of her panic was cute to see, especially from Reggie. Reggie, as a character, rejects teenage and grown-up conventions. As mentioned earlier, the thought of her friend Todd getting a girlfriend sets her off in a bad way. Experiencing attraction for the first time as a teenager is a daunting task. Your heart starts racing, your palms get sweaty, you find yourself tripping over your words to find the right words to say, and you end up looking super weird and awkward as the object of your affection tries to make sense of what just happened. You go over and over the moment in your head, going over every single mistake you made, thinking about how bad you blew it, how lame you must have looked, and how she's never going to talk to you again. It's a hard ride for everyone, but especially for kids who experience same-sex attraction, such as Reggie. When experiencing these feelings for the first time, you may not even know you find your crush attractive or that you like them. For many kids, they may not even seem like an option. First, you have to come to the realization that you like this person, and then you have to decide how to deal with it, whether you want to act on it or try to ignore it. This creates a form of conflict to choose who you are or try to conform to society. Every time up to this point when Reggie faced conflict from the outside, she remained steadfast in herself. She knows who she is and what she wants, and it was being confident in herself she was able to go to the Endless Islands. It would be here where she would gain the power of super strength. You would have to be super strong to still be yourself, even when the world is telling you to give up on your special interests day after day. It may be an immature form of confidence and a bad hill to die on considering her age, but not many kids her age would choose to be themselves when faced with rejection from their peers on the daily. But for the first time, the conflict Reggie is experiencing is coming from within, and because of her crush on Kennelly, which she hasn't quite figured out just yet, she isn't so confident in who she is anymore and loses the ability, albeit temporarily, to go to the Endless Islands. She struggles internally, trying to recreate the key to Endless in a vain attempt to go back, but the problem wasn't the key. It's only when she confronts Kennelly in an honest manner, properly communicates her feelings to Kennelly about set design, and receiving a compliment on her skill, does she regain the confidence in who she is and is able to return to Endless. She was actually able to grow from this moment, but she still has a lot of work to do. Later at the school dance, she's having a good time, but seeing Kennelly there still throws her off. She's still immature and possessive over her friends. She's the one with a problem, but they're the ones that have to stop their good time just because she can't deal with herself. Like I said, she needs to grow up, but she can do it in her own way. She was making progress in understanding her feelings over Kennelly and was working on correcting her bad habits. I would have liked to see all of this in the series if it had continued, but for now, the show itself is good on its own. Growing up is a confusing time, full of adversity, and even harder when society refuses to accept you for who you are. And while I didn't touch on Todd and Esther's journey on Forever 12, they are incredible characters in their own right. I especially like Esther. It's always nice to see some variety in personality when it comes to people of color. She certainly needs to become more assertive though, but that's why she becomes good friends with Reggie. Reggie's got the voice for the both of them. Maybe we should all be more like Reggie. Not the aspects of her that are childlike, but more confident in who we decide to be and who we decide to pursue romantically.